Hey guys, Angry Beast here, bringing you some 1v1 kill confirmed on the map Aground using ACR here with my red dot and kick proficiency. This is actually the first 1v1 that I did in the Elite 1v1 playlist, and start off with a headshot right there. You know it's going to be a good gameplay when you start off with a headshot. Um, ACR is one of those weapons that's just ideally suited for a 1v1 scenario because it has high accuracy, good damage across the range, and when you combine it with the perks Sleight of Hand and Quick Draw, it becomes a very, very deadly laser out to good distance, and it's what I'd recommend if you're just trying to jump into the 1v1 scene. Don't mess around with weapons like the MP7 or the PP90, which are good in close quarters, but on a map like Aground, they're not going to be very useful because there's a lot of long-range firefights. So I definitely recommend using that. I'm using the motion tracker and the Claymore. That's come down to personal preference. I mean, they're both very good options, but I don't think the Claymore is that useful in a 1v1 scenario because you're going to know where your opponent is most of the time. I mean, there's not going to be much flanking and sneaking around. And unfortunately, I believe I die right here because I don't have a grenade on. And that's what I recommend for a 1v1 because you'll know where your opponent is 95% of the time. And you'll be able to grenade them quite effectively. Oh, I guess I do survive that attack. But when playing Kill Confirmed 1v1, the number one thing you want to do is make sure there's distance between you and your opponent. Kill Confirmed is generally speaking a faster paced game mode. But what that means for you is that you must keep a distance between you two, because if you don't, in a situation like that, had he been like 5 or 6 feet closer, he would have had the advantage. You want to keep the gunfights to your advantage. I know he's using a submachine gun right now, so I'm trying to keep the engagements to a distance. Right there would be about where I'd say you don't want to be, because you're too close in that situation to be effective with the ACR. It's got a low rate of fire, which means his close range performance is hampered compared to something like the MP7 or the PP90, which is what he's using in this game. And stuff like that happens quite a bit in a 1v1. But I'm using Dead Silence here, and that's important. I've said it before, but Dead Silence or Sit Rep Pro are both very, very useful choices. I wouldn't go into a 1v1 without it. I'm surprised at how many people I've run into who run Stalker or Steady Aim in a 1v1. It just is interesting to me because they don't seem to realize the fact that Dead Silence makes such a big impact. People are constantly saying, "How did you know where it was?" They get mad at you because you could hear their footsteps, and they don't know about the footstep noise in the game. And it's one of those things where it takes time to learn, but if you can master that in a 1v1 scenario where everything is quiet and all you can hear is your opponent's footsteps and a little bit of background noise, you can really leverage that to your advantage and have the upper hand against your opponent. Now, I wouldn't recommend using Assassin in a 1v1 unless you know the opponent's using Marksman, because it really is useless unless you have Marksman, because there's no real kill streaks that come into effect. The only one that really will happen often is a UAV occasionally, because building up a higher kill streak in a 1v1 is difficult, because you can't stay in one position at all times, and staying in one position in 1v1 is never a good idea, because they'll just constantly shoot you, and eventually they'll get a line of sight on you that you can't counter. Oh, right there, I didn't realize that you couldn't drop down onto the ladders below or something there. I just thought it was an open area below. Apparently I dropped off to my death. But keeping distance between your target is good to do, but it's difficult to do at the same time. Not keeping a distance is something that happens frequently because the spawns are erratic in this game mode. You'll find people spawning everywhere in a 1v1. In fact, I think in this game there's a couple points where he spawns right behind me, and it can get frustrating. Don't get me wrong, but when you combine this map spawns with kill confirmed, it gets even worse. Because you get people spawning everywhere, and you have to confirm the kills, which means you're gonna have to move if you want to win the game, which is what I'm doing here. I'm not going to get a Moab or anything. I didn't even think about getting a Moab because this was my first game. This was the day the maps came out. I didn't even know there was a spot to aim right down into their spawn, which is unfortunate. That's this map's real major flaw. But if you notice right there, what I did is as I rounded the corner, I switched to my MP7 and started hip firing. That's important. Switching weapons in a 1v1 is more important than in a 6v6 game mode, because you know there's only one opponent. You know where he is. If you can rush him and use the most effective weapon in that scenario, 95% of the time you'll win the gunfight. He switched up to a sniper at this point. When you're going against a sniper in a 1v1, you have to play it different than if the guy's using a submachine gun. Always knowing what weapon your opponent has is important, because if you don't, then he'll end up defeating you because you'll think he's using one thing and he'll end up being using another. And what I do here is I realize, okay, he's got the sniper rifle, so I'm going to rush him. I'm going to end up getting the kill. Moving forward when the enemy has a sniper is important, just like staying back is important when they have a submachine gun. I do pick up his sniper rifle, and that's always a good choice if you're using a weapon like the ACR, because trying to use an ACR at a range like this and where the guy's head glitching, it can be useful, but it's not easy. I think that the ACR shines in mid-range engagements. Trying to use it at super long range is just not the same as what it was in Modern Warfare 2. Yes, it does have the lowest recoil of almost any assault rifle in the game, except for maybe the Scar. Oh, I just get destroyed. I try to use this as a head glitch, and it doesn't work out to my advantage here. He just destroys me. But I'd say it's best used for the mid-range open gunfights. If you can avoid using it at ranges like this, you'll be better off, because if you notice here, I'm having a little bit of difficulty acquiring my target, and that's why I use the red dot sight. The iron sights on the ACR are amazing. They're very, very good, but they can be difficult to use at a longer range. So that's why I use the red dot. And if you can combine the red dot with marksman on this thing, you can actually be very effective at the range. But like I said, dead silence is something that you really can't give up in a 1v1 scenario. And I just think that perk's unarguable as far as its effectiveness. Now, this guy didn't have a microphone, so I don't know what his reactions were, and that's unfortunate. I think if you play in the 1v1, you should be forced to have a microphone, because it's always fun when you get those death talk or death noise, whatever that is, when you kill a person, you hear their mic, because it's always fun, especially in a 1v1, because they'll be like, oh, man, and they'll be, we're on a 2v2 even, because they'll be talking to their teammate, and they'll be like, oh, crap, he's right there, and you know they're calling you out, so you have to keep on the move, and that's what makes the 2v2 game mode a little bit more fun than 1v1, in my opinion. But anyways, the gameplay is winding down. I pick up the last kill confirmed. It's a 17-7 with the ACR red dot sight. Hope you guys enjoyed. I'm Angry Beast, and I am signing out. I'll catch you guys in my next video.
Kill confirmed.